The humiliation my family experienced at the hotel was something I didn't relish, but it wasn't something I felt guilty for, either. It had been a direct consequence of their choices. That evening, while they scrambled to sort out their situation abroad, Jessica posted a photo of a sunset from what was clearly their hotel balcony. The caption read, "Overcoming unexpected challenges, one sunset at a time." I stared at it in disbelief. The audacity, the spin, it was classic Jessica. Rachel stayed over that night. We ordered takeout and watched a series of mindless comedy shows, anything to help me stop thinking. I was emotionally drained but grateful not to be alone. Before finally falling into an exhausted sleep, I checked my banking app one last time. The fraud investigation was officially underway. My accounts were flagged with alerts and undergoing 24-hour monitoring. Whatever happened next, one thing was certain, there was no going back. That version of our family, whatever illusion I'd still been clinging to, was gone. They might not have realized it yet, but everything had changed. 5 days after I discovered the theft, my father sent me a terse text, landing at O'Hare, 3:15 p.m. tomorrow. Be at the house by 6 o'clock. We need to talk. It wasn't a request. It was a command, like I was a teenager again being summoned to answer for breaking curfew. I spoke with Rachel and Dr. Eleanor before responding. Their advice was clear, take control. I replied, I'm not coming to the house. If you want to talk, we can meet at Rachel's apartment at 7 p.m. I'll text the address. The response was instant and predictable, this is a family matter. No outsiders. I didn't flinch. Rachel stays, or there's no meeting. Those are my terms. A long silence followed before the final word, fine. 7 p.m. In the 24 hours leading up to that meeting, I went into full preparation mode. I printed bank statements showing every unauthorized transaction. I gathered screenshots from social media, even the ones they'd quickly deleted but I'd saved. I made a timeline of events, with Jessica's incriminating text at the center. Dr. Eleanor and I rehearsed possible scenarios. She reminded me that setting boundaries wasn't cruel, it was a form of self-respect. Rachel deep cleaned her apartment, wanting to make the space as neutral and safe as possible. She arranged enough seating in the living room, laid out a pitcher of water and glasses, and made sure everything was in place. As we waited for the doorbell, she looked at me and said, "You did nothing wrong. They violated your trust, stole your money, and tried to manipulate you when they got caught. Don't let them flip the script." At 7:02, the doorbell rang. Rachel gave my hand a final squeeze before opening the door. I stayed seated, steadying my breath. My parents entered. First, tightly composed. My mother's eyes were red from crying, my father's jaw clenched with restrained anger. Jessica trailed behind, looking defensive but uncertain. "Kimberly," my mother said, stepping forward for a hug I didn't return. "Please, sit down," I said instead, gesturing to the couch opposite me. Rachel sat next to me, offering a polite nod to my family. My father narrowed his eyes at her presence. "Is this really necessary?" he asked, irritated. "Yes. Rachel stays. She's here because I trust her," I said, letting the meaning hang in the air. My family sat down reluctantly. "You've put us in a very difficult position," my father started, the same commanding voice from my childhood surfacing. "Because of your actions, we had to borrow money from strangers. Our entire vacation was disrupted." "My actions?" I repeated. "Let's be clear. You accessed my accounts without permission. You stole over $10,000. Then you excluded me from a trip you paid for with my emergency fund, and got angry when I caught you and froze the accounts." "It wasn't theft," my mother insisted, tears returning. "We're family. We would have paid you back." "When?" I asked flatly. "And why didn't you ask me first?" Jessica scoffed. "We knew you'd say no. You're always so uptight about money." "No," I corrected, "I'm responsible. That's why the money was there in the first place." My father leaned forward. "Things got out of hand. We should have discussed it with you first. But falsely reporting fraud caused bigger problems. We had to dip into your mother's retirement to pay the hotel." "It wasn't a false report," I said, opening my folder. "Let me walk you through what actually happened." For the next 15 minutes, I laid out everything, the unauthorized withdrawals, the travel expenses, the timeline, and most damning of all, the text from Jessica, "He won't notice. Book the extra excursion." Jessica crossed her arms. "You never change your passwords. It's your fault for making it so easy." Rachel let out a quiet noise of disbelief but didn't speak. I turned to my mother. Why exclude me and then steal from me?" Her composure faltered. "It wasn't supposed to be like this. The trip was Jessica's idea. Just her and us. Then the costs added up, and you decided I'd fund it, without telling me. And not invite me," I finished. Jessica shrugged. "You have money. You don't even take vacations. That fund was just sitting there. It was for emergencies. Not your Greek vacation, I said, enunciating each word. We were going to bring you a really nice souvenir, my mother offered. Weakly, the caption, I said sharply. Nothing but real family on this journey. Explain that. My mother flushed. I meant the three of us, the core. The ones who've stayed close. You've been in Chicago, focused on your career. The pain that swept through me was visible. Rachel touched my hand again. We planned it for your mom's birthday, my father added. Jessica lost her commission. We were in a tight spot. And you chose theft as the solution? All three said in unison, it wasn't theft. Rachel spoke for the first time. Taking money without permission is theft. Even if it's family. My father turned on her. This doesn't concern you. It does, she replied evenly. Because Kim came to my apartment shaking after finding out what you did. And you've been blaming her ever since. The conversation unraveled after that. My mother cried louder, accusing me of choosing outsiders over blood. My father threatened to cut me out of his will. Jessica tossed insults between silence and mockery, but I didn't waver. I held my ground at my. Father eventually asked, so what now? You're going to destroy this family over money? This isn't about money, I said. It's about trust. Respect. Boundaries. You violated all of them. We're your parents, my mother sobbed. After everything we've done. For you. Yes, you raised me. You taught me to be financially responsible. And then you stole from me. Don't pretend there's no contradiction in that. I looked them square in the eye. Here's what's going to happen. The fraud claim stands. My accounts are secure. You no longer have any access to my finances. If you want a relationship with me, it will come with accountability and boundaries. Jessica rolled her eyes. Always so dramatic. My father stood. Until you drop this fraud nonsense, you're no longer part of this family. My mother gasped, but said nothing. Jessica smiled slightly. That's your choice, I said, my voice steady. I'm sorry you see it that way. As they walked to the door, my father threw one last jab over his shoulder. You'll regret this. One day, when you need family and no one's there, you'll remember this. After they left, the apartment felt silent in a different way. Rachel didn't say anything right away. She just sat with me until I was ready to speak. Are you okay? She finally asked. No, I said. But I will be. And I meant it. For the first time in a long time, I meant it. I had met Diane through professional channels. She specialized in corporate whistleblower cases. Unlike the Warner family lawyers, who operated more like extensions of my father's will, Diane was known for her independence and integrity. What you're describing is serious, Mackenzie, she said after I outlined what I had discovered. Securities fraud, tax evasion, misappropriation of investor funds, these carry significant penalties. Are you absolutely certain you want to pursue this? These are your family members we're talking about. They stopped being family. The moment they decided I wasn't one of them, I replied, my voice steadier than I felt. I need to protect myself legally. If I remain associated with the company knowing about these activities, I could be implicated. Diane nodded. You're right to be concerned. Your position as a director creates potential liability. But I want you to be fully aware of what you're setting in motion. This will likely destroy Warner Development as it currently exists. I thought about the company, what my grandfather had founded, what my father had turned into an empire. I thought about the employees, people who had no idea what corruption lay at the top. I thought about the Warner name, which had been both a blessing and a burden all my life. I understand, I said finally. But I need to do what's right. Over the next 3 days, Tyler and I barely left our apartment. While he handled the thank you notes for wedding gifts and unpacked from our abbreviated honeymoon, I worked with Diane to document everything. We created secure communication channels and backed up every piece of evidence multiple times. The emotional toll was immense. Every document I reviewed, every email thread that proved my family's deliberate deception, felt like a fresh wound. I sobbed uncontrollably at times, not just for what I was about to lose, but for what I'd never really had, a family that valued me. Tyler held me through those moments, never wavering. You're doing what you have to do, he told me. This isn't your fault. They made their choices. On the 4th day, I received a text from Rebecca, board meeting next Thursday. Dad says your attendance is optional since you're still settling in after the wedding. Optional. The final confirmation that they were proceeding without me, making decisions that could affect my position, and potentially leave me legally vulnerable. That evening, another Hawaii photo popped up on social media. My aunt had posted it, everyone at a luau, lays around their necks, drinks in hand. They looked happy. Carefree. Like they had nothing to hide. Like I didn't exist. Something hardened in me then. I typed a single message into the family group chat. one I had been removed from but had regained access to with Diane's help. Enjoy it while it lasts. Then I executed the plan Diane and I had meticulously constructed. First, I submitted my formal resignation from Warner Development, effective immediately. I sent copies to every board member and to our corporate counsel. The letter cited my concerns about financial irregularities and documented my attempts to address them internally. Next, using a still active emergency authorization from my account, I temporarily froze the payroll system, not permanently, just enough to create a 48-hour delay. It would trigger alarms and force the board to investigate. Finally, I submitted an anonymous tip to the IRS, including full documentation of the tax fraud. Separate packages were prepared for the SEC and EPA, each focused on violations under their jurisdiction. Are you sure about this last step? Tyler asked as I hovered over the final send button. I hesitated. Am I doing this for justice or for revenge? The line was blurred. If I don't do this, I said slowly, they'll just keep going. They'll hurt more investors. More communities. This isn't just about me anymore. I pressed send. Then I closed my laptop. There was no triumph. No relief. Just silence, the kind that follows a momentous decision. That night, Tyler and I relocated to a furnished apartment in another part of the city. A precaution Diane had suggested. Your family will react strongly, she warned. Best to be somewhere they don't expect. She was right. At 5:42 the next morning, my phone exploded with calls, voicemails, texts. Most were from James, ranging from confusion, what the hell is going on with payroll, to threats, Dad's going to destroy you for this. My father's tone was cold and controlled. Whatever game you're playing stops now. Come to the office immediately. I didn't respond. Instead, I forwarded everything to Diane. By noon, the company had uncovered my resignation letter. The board called an emergency meeting. My father's messages shifted in tone. Mackenzie, we need to talk. Whatever you think you know, there's an explanation. Call me still, I said nothing. At 3:17 p.m., exactly 6 days after the Hawaii photos, I got a call from a Washington, D.C. number. An IRS investigator wanted a preliminary interview. They had already contacted my father. The war had officially begun. The next 24 hours were a blur: legal consultations, interviews, and document submissions. Diane accompanied me as counsel as I explained the company's structure, the key players, and what I had uncovered. Your father has already retained criminal defense attorneys, Diane informed me. The agency is moving fast. They've likely secured warrants for records already. I felt oddly detached. Like I was narrating someone else's story. Calls from my mother, Rebecca, and even distant relatives flooded in. I ignored them all. Only James didn't call, which worried me more than if he had. It was nearly midnight when security at our apartment called. There's a Richard Warner here, insisting on seeing you. Send him away, I said, but minutes later, pounding shook our door. He had somehow gotten past security. Mackenzie. His voice echoed. Open this door. Tyler moved to answer, but I stopped him. Let him wait. For 20 minutes, we listened to the tantrum of a man unaccustomed to being ignored. Finally, when his voice turned hoarse and the knocking weakened, I nodded. Now. Tyler opened the door. My father stood there, red-faced and disheveled. He pushed past Tyler into the apartment. What the hell do you think you're doing? He demanded. The IRS is crawling all over us. The board is in chaos. All because you felt left out of a family vacation? His trivialization of everything I'd endured only strengthened my resolve. This isn't about Hawaii, I said calmly. This is about illegal activities that put me at risk. Don't be dramatic. It's just business, financial optimizations. Tax fraud isn't business. Misappropriating investor funds and falsifying environmental reports aren't optimizations. For a moment, fear flickered in his eyes. Then calculation returned. Come back to the company. Executive VP. Your own division. Whatever you want. Once, I might have taken the deal. But now, it's too late. His face hardened. So you're willing to destroy your family for what? Revenge? I laughed. You made those choices. I'm living with the consequences. His shoulders sagged. You have no idea what you've started. Your mother. Your siblings. The Warner name, it'll all be dragged through the mud. I didn't want any of this, I said quietly. I just wanted to be valued. To be included. To work on something meaningful. You chose to push me out. These are the consequences. He looked at me, rage, confusion, maybe even respect in his eyes. Then he left, silently. In the weeks that followed, Warner Development stock collapsed. The board forced my father to take a leave. James was directly implicated in several fraudulent schemes and placed under investigation. The House of Cards fell, piece by piece. My mother called daily, swinging between guilt and blame. Rebecca showed up at my office in tears. Was it really worth it? I told her everything. About the fraud. About the plans to oust me. About the risks I faced. I didn't know, she whispered. The Hawaii trip, Lily didn't mean the caption that way. She meant Aunt Patricia was finally able to join us after cancer treatment. The explanation hit hard. Had I misread everything? Had that hurt fueled decisions that destroyed my family? Maybe. But the crimes were real. The company was broken. Long before I exposed it. My father negotiated a settlement and resigned. James went to prison. Warner Development survived, but diminished, and forever changed. I used my whistleblower settlement to co-found a new company with Tyler. Warner Hayes Development Group. We prioritized sustainable, ethical development. Community-led projects. Transparency. My relationship with my family shifted. My father and I spoke only through attorneys. James and I not at all. But Rebecca and I slowly rebuilt trust. She started a foundation for women entrepreneurs. My mother, stripped of her social standing, softened too. Just a little. 1 year after the Warner implosion, Tyler and I watched workers install our company's sign in a renovated building. In Cambridge. What do you think? He asked. I think my grandfather would be proud, I said. We're building something real. Something that gives back. Not everyone forgave me. Some never would. But I knew I had done the right thing. I stood up for myself. I walked away from a legacy built on lies and forged something better. As Tyler and I walked home, I smiled, thinking about that old group chat. The one that excluded me. It had felt like the end of the world, but it was actually the beginning of something far better.